If you're a coffee lover, there's no doubt that you must have tried Starbucks at least once in your lifetime. But have you ever wondered how Starbucks sells their coffee for such a high pricing? And in the first place, how did Starbucks become the king of coffee market with such a high pricing? The major success of Starbucks attributes to three key strategies. Let's find out those three strategies in this video. Starbucks was founded in 1971 by Jerry, Zeev, and Gordon. But the initial founders didn't sell coffee, instead, they sold coffee beans. On the other hand, Howard joined the Starbucks due to his liking towards the coffee brand. Everything was fine. Starbucks quickly expanded as a retail store for coffee beans in 6 different locations. Then something very dramatic happened. Howard, who was working for Starbucks, visited Europe. There he observed hospitality and fantastic experience of cafe. So when he came back, he tried to convince the founders to convert the coffee retail store into a coffee restaurant. But the founders didn't agree. They thought the coffee beans business is doing pretty well. Why would they risk the existing business and go to a coffee restaurant business? So Howard left the Starbucks and started his own coffee restaurant to implement his dream idea. 2 years later, Howard got an offer from Starbucks founders that they would sell him the Starbucks. Howard was so happy, he wanted to buy the Starbucks desperately. But he doesn't have any money, so he approached investors for it. But none of the investors were interested in this idea. After many rejections, finally one investor showed interest in this. But that investor tried to buy Starbucks for himself. After knowing this, Howard was broken. But somehow Howard turned the table and managed to buy Starbucks for himself. The first thing he did when he took over Starbucks is to implement his first strategy which he saw in Europe, the hospitality strategy. When Howard went to Europe, the first thing he observed there is the people working in the coffee store knew the customers and they were talking as they were friends. So Howard wanted to replicate that in even a better way. So he wanted to create a place where people would come to relax and to feel like a place which is special to them. So Howard focused on giving special training to his employees, where the employees are required to ask customer names and remember the customer names. Noro the Curse. I know most of the people are not into found footage horror, but The Curse is a gripping horror. Released in 2005, this film has an IMDb rating of 6.9. The film follows a prominent paranormal journalist who goes missing shortly after completing a documentary. What begins as an investigation into strange noise soon evolves into a chilling mystery and a demonic thriller. Of a demonic entity. The catch about the found footage horror is that it makes the scenes so real that we don't even feel that the scene is happening in the film, but it's really happening. That we don't even feel that the scene is happening in the film. In order to get this kind of films, the execution, in order to get a perfect very good found footage horror, the execution need to be right, and this is one of the film where the execution right on point. I highly recommend you to watch this film. Curse. This 1997 horror thriller Curse. Curse is released in 1997. Even though this is a pretty old film, it's considered as one of the classic in Curse. Curse is released in 1997. Even though this film is Curse, this 1997 horror thriller has an intense horror coupled with thriller aspects. The film starts with a detective who is up to task of investigating a series of murders, which are interlinked. They look so identical, and little did he know what he's investigating into. I would stop here to avoid spoilers. Check out the film. This is one crazy film from Japan. This film has an IMDb rating of 7.4 and Rotten Tomatoes rating of 93%. I will also drop a link of this trailer. I'll also drop a link of this movie trailer down below, so check this out. Dark Water. When I say Dark Water, maybe you might be associating with the English film with the same name released in 2005. The English version is a remake of the original version which released in 2002 in Japan. But English version but the English version which released in 2005 failed to impress us. But the English version which released in 2005 failed to impress. Even if you have watched the English version, still the film is must watch. The film is about a single mother who is fighting in a court for custody of her child. Meanwhile, she moves into a new apartment. Little she knew about the haunted place. Most of the horror elements in this film are connected with water element. This is a refreshing concept from the regular horror, where the entire horror scenes are associated with water, and wherever the water is, horror follows there. And wherever water is, horror follows there. The film has an IMDb rating of 6.7 and Rotten Tomatoes rating of 81%. Audition. Always had one question after watching every Japanese film, especially horror films. How did they come up with such a refreshing concepts, especially in horror genre? Every time they come up with a very unique concepts, and Audition is one such refreshing concept. It's a horror thriller on a middle-aged man who lost his wife recently. Boom, boom, bam, bam, boom, boom, bam. After his friend's suggestion, decides that he need to remarry. After his friend's suggestion, he decides to remarry. After his friend's suggestion, he decides to remarry. So, in search of new wife, auditions happen. So, in search of new wife, auditions takes place, and this man likes a girl, but the girl this man likes is very dangerous woman, and post meeting this girl, everything in his life changes. And what we are presented with is an intense horror thriller. The most frustrating part for me This film has an IMDb rating of 7.1 and Rotten Tomatoes rating of 83%. Suicide Club. By the name itself, you must have understood what the story is all about. Yes, the film is about suicides. Rather than scaring us with ghosts, the director shows a mirror to our society and creates horror with the real life incidents. Remember that Japan has one of the highest suicide rates, and in 2002 alone, 33,000 Japanese committed suicide. The film is about the suicides which are strangely connected. You'll get a weird and depressed feeling after watching this film. This film has a very unique touch on filmmaking, and you will feel like you are in a different world after watching this film. It goes way crazy than what you are expecting. This film has an IMDb rating of 6.5. Pulse. Up until I was making this video, I didn't know that this film that this Japanese film was also remade in Hollywood with the same name in 2006. I didn't watch the Hollywood version, so I'm not sure how Hollywood version is, but the Japanese version is too good. This 2001 released this 2001 released horror thriller evol- revolves around the mysterious suicide revolves around the mysterious suicides and its connection with internet. Just imagine the spirits are controlling the internet and invaded human world through internet. That's what the film is all about. I would say this film is not for everyone because compared to other Japanese classics, this film is no match. But still, this film is a good one. Do try it. This film has an IMDb rating of 6.5